About a month ago, I started making masks, and I've been sewing for since I was 2, which is about 30 years. And I enjoy making pretty much everything. So when I saw that there was a need, I thought, well, that's something I can do. So I started making masks. As of today, I have made 214 masks. We have 45 going out this weekend, half to UMD and half to Texas A&M. I got to give them a little shout out too. And the Texas A&M people are sending it to me. I'm donating all the money to the Student Crisis Fund and the food pantry. So what I'm going to do today is show you how to make a mask. We're going to do a quick video. I will tell you, I've been sewing a long time, so that doesn't mean that I am an expert. It just means that I have a lot of bad habits. So I'll point those out to you as I make them. So the first thing we're going to do is get our supplies together. You need to have scissors, a couple of marking utensils that are not the same color as your fabric, 3 pipe cleaners, and then you can have one fabric and you can do the straps and the mask out of the same fabric, or you can have another fabric to do the straps out of. Whatever works for you. You also need to have little clippies like these. You can use office clippies, you can use pins, whatever works for you, whatever you have around the house. This is a project that if you don't have a huge amount of things like I do, you can use an old shirt for fabric. You can cut a square out of the back of a shirt. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our mask fabric. Now, instead of using scissors, since I do this a lot, I'm going to use a rotary cutter and a mat. My mat is marked with inches. So we're going to take our fabric, and of course it comes this way. This is a yard of fabric. I'm just going to fold it in half since I have a small cutting board in front of me. And we're going to cut a 15-inch piece of fabric. So now the good thing about it is if you have a 15-inch piece of fabric that's 44 inches wide, you can make 4 adult masks out of this one piece of fabric. So now we're going to fold it the other way. You can cut off the selvage at the end if you need to. I am not in this case because it doesn't really show a line. Sometimes you have a white line there, cut that off. We're going to cut a 9-inch wide strip. So now we have one piece of fabric that is 15 by 9. We're going to take this fabric and we're going to turn it so the good sides are facing each other. The hardest part about sewing is you do everything inside out, and it's really hard to focus on what it looks like until you flip it around. So that is the first step. This is going to be the body of your mask. So now we're going to insert a little slot for a filter. So that means we've got to make a mark 2 3/4 inch in from this side and 2 3/4 inch in from this side. So I'm using a purple pen because my fabric's blue. You just line it up, go in 2 3/4 inches, make a mark, go on the other side 2 3/4 in, make a mark. See, my marks are right there. So the next step is to sew those 2 seams together. Now I am using kind of a light blue flowered pattern, but I'm going to use maroon thread so you can kind of see better what I'm doing as I do it. So when you start out sewing, always remember to back stitch at the ends because that holds the thread in and it keeps it from unraveling. You're going to go to the mark, stop, back stitch, lift, and then slide your fabric forward to the next mark. Don't take it out, just slide it forward. Put your presser foot back down, forward, backward, and then forward to the end with a quick back stitch. And then there's this handy dandy little thing on the back of your sewing machine right here. It's like a little pair of scissors that'll cut the fabric for you. So that's fun to know. So now we have our mask. So now we have just that sewn at the top. I'm going to show it to the up close camera. So when we edit it, you'll be able to see that. So that's all we need. It's basically like a sleeve. So the next step, which I told you is 50% of sewing, is ironing. We're going to lay it open, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do this in a second after I do it so that you can see it up close. We're going to open the seam and just finger press it down and then give it a quick iron down the middle. So what we did was we laid it down like so. The seam was together. We opened the seam and then we ran an iron down the middle. That's all we did right there. This keeps the bulk at the end from it being bulky at the end, just because you have those extra fabric. Okay, our next step is we're just going to hem the sides to make sure that the fabric doesn't unravel when we wear it. So we're just going to fold it down about 1/2 inch, just like you would fold up your pants. Like if this was a pant leg, you're just going to fold it up about 1/2 inch. And we're going to do that on both sides, and we're going to sew all the way around it. All right, don't forget to back stitch. We're just going to go all the way around. And the machine does most of the work. You just have to let it feed itself. We'll use our special cutter. And we're going to do the other side. Again, just fold it down. We're going to slide it over the end of the machine. And I did have to take my my tray off for this. You need to, there's a little tray that fits that makes it a little bigger. I have to take that off to be able to fit this on. So we're just going to go around that. Don't forget to back stitch. All right, we're going to cut those threads. All right. Now here's the exciting part. We get to turn it inside out. Ready? Ta-da! We have a mask. Woo! That's all it is. Simple as that, guys. So now we have this little slot here that we want to put a filter in. So you want that to face you when you wear the mask. So I'm going to come up close on the camera so you can see exactly what I'm doing here. The original seam I made is right across here. You can see the little flap. We're going to take that and we're going to fold the fabric so that it's about 3/4 to an inch down from the fold. So that's what we're going to do. Now we're going to iron this so that it's easier to sew. Give it a quick iron. Okay, and that's the front or the face of your mask. This is the part that's going to be against you. When somebody wears it, they'll be able to put a little filter in here if they need additional filter. So now what we're going to do is we're going to measure this, because this mask, the way it is now, will not fit on your face. It won't have a contour to your face. And the most important part is for you to be able to stop as much air that is unfiltered as possible. So we are going to take this with the little filter slot up, put it on our measuring board, and we're just going to make marks every inch all the way up both sides. And I'll show this to you in a second. So we made little marks every inch. So what's going to happen is when we make our pleats, we'll take those two marks and put them together like that, and then fold it down, and we'll have a pleat. Then we'll go to the next two, we'll fold them where they're touching, we'll fold it down and back, and we'll have another pleat. So that's how the pleats are going to work, and we'll get to that in a second. But I want you to know how important these 1-inch marks are, and try to get the first mark below the seam up here so you don't have as much bulk to sew over when you sew the side pleats in. Okay, so we have our 1-inch marks, and then now we have two options. And if you have elastic right now in your house, you can use elastic. If you don't, my best option is to use strips of fabric and create ties in the back. So what you're going to do is take your coordinated fabric, and you are going to cut 2-inch strips all the way across the 44 inches. And we're just going to do, each strip makes 2 straps. So 2 inches of 44-inch fabric will make 2 straps. So we're going to cut a 2-inch strip, and we're going to do that twice. So you'll have 2 of these when you're done. All right, so we have our straps, and our straps are going to go, I'm going to move this over here so you can see me iron a little better. So our first piece is going to be a 2-inch strip, and we're going to make it into something that looks like that. So it's three steps. The first one is to fold the fabric in half and iron it in half. That's the first step. So we're going to go all the way down half like that. Then the next step is to fold each side into the center seam. All right, that's step number 2. The third step is to fold those in and then fold it back in half and then iron it flat. So we start with this. We fold it in half. Then we fold each side in, and it's going to look like that. See that. And then we're going to fold that in half, and it's going to look like that. That way we have finished edges all the way down each one of the straps. The straps are easy to sew. You literally just put it in. It's going to feed itself because it's ironed. If it wasn't ironed, it would be a whole lot harder to do, trust me. And then you just really just run it through the machine as close to the edge as you can, making sure both sides are catching. So I'm not going to sew this all the way because I have some pre-made, which are here. So this is what they'll look like when they're done. And I just tied knots in the ends of them for time because I've been making so many. Hemming each one was just too much work. So now we have our straps and we have our face mask. Now we're going to put it together and we're almost done. All right, so we have our 1-inch marks. We're going to make pleats and we're going to add straps all at the same time. So you want to have the open sides up and down. You're going to take 2 marks, and I have the opening side towards me. You're going to have the 2 marks. You're going to touch them together, and then you're going to push it down in the back and just make a pleat. And this is where you're going to need to pin or clip. So that's the first pleat. Then we go to the next 2 marks. Push those together, fold down, and you have the second pleat. And then we're going to take the next 2 marks, put them together, fold it down and back, and you have the third pleat. So that's what it's going to look like when you're done. It's going to be like little Z's. That's what it's going to look like from the side. The other side, you're going to do the same exact thing, put them together, and then fold down the back on all 3 of those. So this is what it's going to look like when you're done. It's going to look just like your mask, but it's just held together with clips. I cannot stress how important it is right now to sew this piece as flat as you can get it, because this is what's going to move when you go to sew. So just with your pleats up, press it, both sides. Not to mention when you go to wash these, you want to make sure that your pleats stay in. And at this point, you can kind of look at your pleats and make sure they're even, going straight across. Make sure your folds are right. Just make it look like it looks like a mask. So when you wear this and open it, your pleats are going to give you that extra space. And keep it tight around your ears and your chin. All right, the next step is to add the straps. You're going to put one at the top of each side and just hold it in with a clip. All righty. We got a runner. All right. So we have 4 straps, 3 pleats, and about 600 little clippies, holding it all together. All right, and there we go. So now that I've got these in, I'm going to give you a couple of tips on doing this. When you do this, we made the original seam right here when we hemmed the ends. Make sure that your strap seats in further than that seam, because we're gonna sew over that seam as our first line, and then we're gonna sew over it again. So that way the straps they have 2 seams on top of them to hold them in nice and strong. So make sure that it goes past the seam that you created. So now this is the most difficult part, and I'm going to bring the machine up so you can see what I'm doing. And my roller ball. All right, here we go. We're going to seat it under there, and we're just going to seat it right on top of the seam that's already there. So I don't know if you can see, we're just setting it on top of the seam that's already there. And of course we have up close camera work by my neighbor Terrence, who's amazing. We're going to take out the first 2 clips. What you need? Oh, yeah, that's fine. We can move the camera over here as the camera moves. Okay, so we are going to go forward and backward, and that is to hold the first strap in. You got to hold them tight, okay? Keep your fingers as tight as you can on the side. Ironing the pleats is going to help, so we're just going to keep going really slowly right down that line, right? And I did have a little movement out of that last seam. But that is what it looks like after you do the first seam. You've got 2 straps. They're in there past that seam, and that's their first, that'll grip them in. All right, then you're gonna do a seam just right next to it, really close to the edge of the fabric. Don't forget the back stitch. Make sure your straps are flat. Go down. All right, and then that is your second seam. And that just gives a nice double durability on the pulling. So that's what it is. Then you're going to do the other side the same way, and then we'll be done. All right. All those little things down. All right, so that is, oh, I didn't catch that one. Did you see that? No. And this just happens, you know, sewing is just like anything else. You're going to do that second seam. All the way up, all the way down. And we got one string there. All right, so now because you still need to put in the nose piece. All right, so we have this little pocket here for the filter, and that is where we're going to insert the nose piece for the mask. So we're going to take our three pieces of pipe cleaner. And it's just a basic braid. I'm going to do it right here. Take 3 of them, twist the ends to keep it together, and you're going to do a basic braid. So I'm going to do it like you're doing it instead of, I'm going to do it backwards. I'm going to do it forward for you. So you're going to take over the center. Let's see, that would be, I don't know if that's your right or left. You're going to take right over the center, my right over the center, and then that becomes the center. Then you're going to take left over center, right over center, left over center, right over center, and just give it a nice loose braid all the way down. And this gives it a little more stability, but still keeps it flexible and makes it wide enough so it doesn't feel like you have something really painful on the end of your nose. You don't need the whole length of the pipe cleaner, just enough to fit between these 2 internal seams right here. Not the furthest ones out, but the closest ones in. So if you kind of give it a quick measurement across there, you know, you're going to cut it about right here. Do not use fabric scissors to cut pipe cleaners. Don't do it. Okay. This is another good. So we're just going to put this in here like we would put in a filter, slide it into one side. Make sure that the ends aren't really rough. They're going to be fabric coated, but just make sure they're not really sticking out. Mostly because it's hard to fit into the fabric, not because it's going to hurt somebody. And then you're going to push it up as far as you can to the top. So it's going right across here. So just to make it a little easier, because it will shift as you sew, just put a couple clips, binder clips, sewing, quilting clips, whatever you got. Can't really pin that, but put a couple clips there to hold it up. Then you're going to sew a seam directly below it, but above the opening. So you're going to sew right in between that little spot that we folded down that I said make sure you give yourself about 3/4 of an inch. That's where we're going to sew. Just straight across. We're going to hold the pipe cleaner in. all the way across. And just take the clips out as you go. Press up on it with your finger. I am using a regular presser foot on this. It might be better to use a zipper foot, but you know, we're not really making an heirloom blanket or something like that. We're making a mask, so that's okay. We can take a few little shortcuts. All right, last step, just make sure all the strings have been cut off. And ta-da, you're done. Now, you would attach elastic the same way. So that is the finished product. Now at home, it's going to take you a little bit longer because I only sewed one of the straps. You'll have to sew 4. What else? There's something else I did that was quick. It'll take you a little bit longer. You can pause the video. If you have any questions, like I said, you can email me. My email is ckershaw@umd.edu, and you can email me, and I can you can either set up a Zoom or do something like that for you. So I've made a lot of these masks, and one of the things that I did, I had a lot of scraps left over. So I made these cute little quilt squares with all the little pieces that were left over. So don't throw away your scraps. These are 3-inch square pieces. You can use those. I would definitely give it a little bit more reinforcement at the end. You're going to have a knot there anyway. But yeah, I'd give it a forward, backward. Yeah, I would give it a couple back stitches for sure. I've been throwing mine in the washer. If you have a bag that you could do like delicates in, you could put it in there. But it's cotton fabric, just like you would make a quilt out of. So it's 100% cotton. Definitely take any filter out that you put in before you wash it.